So that brings today. So I'll start by just thanking everyone for joining so far. This is the second day of our NX Security Week. The purpose of our NX Security Week is basically around the fact that there's been no expos or anything this year. Everyone's done a lot of product-facing webinars, and we wanted to try and recreate the kind of lecturing section, expos, the kind of speaker sections. And do a week of kind of more educational style presentations. So we focused around learning about products and things rather than actually pushing a specific brand or product. So today we are doing all around understanding surveillance hardware, exactly what's needed, looking at the RAM, the CPU, how we design these hardwares based on our system requirements. We're doing this with one of our premium partners out of the Netherlands called WSM. We have John with us, who is the founder, owner, director, CEO of the business, and he will be running us through everything to do with hardware and how they do custom solutions and basically what they look for, how they design these systems to give everyone a better understanding, especially when it comes to an NX system. All right, so to get kicked off, we'll just give you a little intro about Network Optix, if anyone's online that doesn't know who we are. So you just flick to the next page real quick, John. So Network Optix is a company that focuses on video-powered solutions, right? So we're all back in 2011, 2012. The guys that started the company saw a shift in the industry about the way that the video systems were going, and they were going to become a lot more consumer-based and a lot more widely used, especially with high resolution. So they kind of came out with a new platform that's dedicated purely for the management display of IP. So 3 core principles. If you look to the next page, please, John. Just to give you an idea of where we're coming from, we've got 3 core principles that we use. The usability of the system is really important to us. Back in the kind of 2010 period, where a lot of systems were more kind of commercial, you had to do training and everything to use these systems. So retaining that feature set but making it more consumer based in terms of the usability of the system was important. So people can use it instantly, they don't have to go through training. It's not hard, it's not cumbersome, it's not complex. Was really important for the kind of the way that we design the system. The next one is the actual like the speed and the lightweightness of the system, being able to install on anything in terms of what you need. You don't need these massive grunty servers anymore. It's a lot more low end and flexible in terms of the hardware requirements, but also the speed of the system. The guys saw that there was a shift going from your 4C and your VGA resolutions, more kind of going to where we are now with the 4K resolution. So they use some things like adaptive scaling and everything to basically deliver video a lot faster, no robots, and you can get it from the other side of the world with smooth video in a few seconds rather than having to wait 10 seconds for video to buffer, lots of dropouts and stuff. And then the last thing that we always focus on, as we saw the way that people are now kind of creating a lot more customized solutions within IP video. It's not just the case of putting a DVR cord with AI, with peripheral devices, with more kind of tool connection and communication between systems, is that extensibility. So you can actually really design a solution that fits anything. So we be that core and we can bring everything together for any vertical, any customer requirement. So that's a real quick intro to us, just so everyone has an idea of where our platform comes from. If you want more information on it, if you don't know enough about it, please feel free to reach out to myself or any salesperson, and we are more than happy to give you a run through of the system. So from that note, I will hand it over to John from WSM, who will take you through everything about their company and about how to design a hardware solution to meet the needs of your system.
James, thanks. Now, welcome to this webinar today, and thank you for taking the time to join us here. Today we discuss the importance of surveillance hardware and what WSM technology can do to improve your customer satisfaction and experience, of course. Times are changing rapidly, and with that, the need of innovation and more flexible surveillance solutions have become a vital need. In the current COVID-19 situation and with the pharmaceutical firms working towards a vaccine, technology is helping governments, corporations, supermarkets, retailers, and small businesses to manage safely their day-to-day business. The use of AI in smarter cameras and deep learning in VMS has suddenly become a reality today instead of a solution for the future. We all want to believe that the post-COVID-19 situation will bring us back to normal, right? But very likely we will have future global pandemics, and our lives will always be guided by video management solutions. So talking about the new normal is something we all have to accept. Whether this is for safety, protecting the citizens of crime, improving logistics, driving smart and safer cities, or for the monitoring of public health, this will only get more and more embedded in our daily routine. The opportunity is there for everyone listening to look into the possibility to develop more flexibility and trust with our customers by supplying smarter video solutions. But how can we deploy smarter solutions? We are here to share our experience. Then first of all, I want to tell something about our company. Why WSM Technology? We are, in addition to our expertise in the field of VMS server and client, a specialized distributor within the IP surveillance networking market, with an enormous knowledge and know-how of data storage within this specific field. We are specialized in configuring and assembling video management servers and clients, and we do this entirely according to the build-to-order principle and tailor-made according to the specific requirements and wishes of our customers. We are also an official network Optix system builder and help to configure any solution you need. And for installers and distributors in Europe, we can even add your own brand to any system. WSM Technology carries an extensive range of products by multiple vendors to enable our customers to build a complete IT infrastructure. Most common in our product assortment are servers, hardware components, storage, cameras, and networking equipment. And among the vendors are Intel, Broadcom, Dell, Western Digital, Netgear, Network Optix, of course, Ubiquiti, Infratrend, Milesite, and many others. Please visit our website if you want more information about this topic. WSM Technology is specialized in configuring the right video management server and client for each product. We always produce these systems according to the build-to-order principle. In this way, your specific configuration is put together for your project so that an optimal performance can be guaranteed. Software is in a complete harmony with the hardware. Based upon the specific requirements, we can provide you with the server and clients which are branded or non-branded. And even in certain cases, we are able to provide the systems with your own logo. We are an official Dell OEM partner, and we also can provide HP enterprise servers. The main solutions are focused on consistent performance, endurance, and innovative technologies that enable you to implement the required services. The importance of the right hardware is critical for the consistent performance of your surveillance solution. So we'd like to share some important topics with you. At WSM Technology, we provide consultancy services to help you create the best networking surveillance solutions. We are open to discuss anything you need, and we can analyze your needs by asking the right questions. We understand the performance needs of any VMS, selecting the best component required, and we know how to tailor the software so you can focus on other important things. With the complexity of data storage within the camera security world increasing, having the right knowledge is very critical. The specific knowledge of hardware in combination with the right software may not always be available to you as an installer, so especially for us, you can call on our consulting services. We can advise on location, when allowed in the current situation, of course, about the right IT infrastructure with the option of outsourcing installation and configuring to us. Key components of surveillance hardware. Now, What you see in this slide is, of course, for most of us, what are the key components? Key components like a CPU, RAM, GPU, storage, etc. I think something we can all understand, but we will go in depth with some special topics of this. Selecting the right CPU. NX really stands out from the competition when it comes to its hardware requirements. The CPU is the greatest proof of this. At this moment, we prefer to use the Intel GPUs, but we are testing the new AMD Ryzen processors also. Within a video management server, the minimum requirements at the competitions are often already an Intel Xeon or even a double Intel Xeon processor, and NX can already start with a simple i3 processor, and it can even handle up to 128 channels. Regarding the client, we always recommend to use the Intel i5 processor as a minimum, which is a high-performance CPU for client usage. RAM. RAM is used by VMS applications to increase the speed of the user experience or the user interface, and the ability of media servers to crunch the data. When you calculate the amount of RAM for an NX Witness server, we use the following rules of thumb. Each camera uses less than 40 megabytes of RAM. Calculate the RAM usage and double it at least. For the NX Witness client, we recommend a minimum of 16 gig. But there are some factors that limit the highest RAM amount for your computer. That's, for example, based on the fact if you've got a 32 or 64-bit CPU. Or the RAM could be limited based on your operating system, or based on the fact of your motherboard has not enough slots. GPU. The GPU is traditionally used by VMS to encode and decode streams. Also here we must make a clear distinction between the server and the client. The GPU is only needed in a network Optix video management server if you're running partner analytics, for example, face recognition. For a client, a GPU is needed for multi-monitor uses. Quite important to mention is that NX uses the CPU to decode. The recently introduced Intel QuickSync support for acceleration is something which I would like to mention especially. Storage devices, HDD, SSD, NVMe. Although it's not mandatory, we recommend for stability and performance reasons to put the operating system and the video management software on a separate SSD, so their activities do not interrupt the actual surveillance recordings. Depending on the size of the system, you can consider running the system with a single or a double SSD. Using two SSDs for your operating systems means that we configure them in RAID 1, also known as a mirror. The amount of camera storage is growing rapidly, but also the megapixel of the cameras and the artificial intelligence. All this causes a huge increase of images, which means storage. This means that more and more attention must be paid to the storage and its design. There are several HDD qualities, and for a smaller server and system, we use the special surveillance HDD like the Seagate Skyhawk and the Western Digital Purple. The WD Purple comes with the all-frame 4K technology, and that's a firmware with special ATA streaming to provide reliable recording and a smooth playback experience. Enterprise HDDs are more robust to protect the disk of vibration, have got a higher RPM, 7,200 RPM versus 5,400 RPM, and give more endurance due to their extreme workload performance. A Western Digital Ultrastar HD has got 550 terabyte workload year rate versus the WD Purple, which has got 180 terabyte year workload. But it's already a lot if you compare it to a desktop HDD that has got about 50 terabyte workload. Please take in mind that you never use a desktop hard drive within a surveillance system because it's not 24/7 recognized. When the amount of storage grows, it's also important to think about the data integrity. Are you going to lose all your images if a disk drive crashes? For this, you can consider to configure a RAID set in the server. And RAID stands for Redundant Array of Independent Disks, which creates data redundancy. For those who are not familiar with RAID, RAID is a data storage virtualization technology that combines multiple physical drives into one, or more logical units for the purpose of data redundancy, or performance improvement, or both. RAID can have an impact on the performance of your server, and that's why we always recommend to use a separate RAID controller with his own processor on board. The NIC, the network interface card, now often built into the motherboards. A dual NIC is recommended for using an NX server, so you can set up a virtual network plus an external internet connection, or it can be used as redundancy. For a desktop client, you can use the NIC on board or maybe the Wi-Fi when you've got a other system. Choosing the right operating system. Now, one of the main advantages of NX is, after all, that it runs under Ubuntu Linux. Choosing for this specific operating system means a more stable environment and more cost-effective in both purchase and maintenance. But if you're more familiar with Windows, you've got the option to use this operating system also. But that's the distinctive character of NX. It runs under Windows, Mac OS, and Ubuntu Linux. And especially the last one, we are very fond of it, if I'm honest. Then the chassis. Yeah, maybe not so important, but we can provide you with, let's say, almost any kind of chassis you would like to have. If it's a rack mount or a desktop, or the small form factor systems like the Intel Next unit of computing systems, or even mobile form factor units, or when you are more into the harsh environment business, we've got special casings for that. For NX, any of them work. Section 4, planning hardware design. The first step in configuring the video management server is using the NX system calculator, which you can find on mynetworkoptix.com. Although there are several generic calculators, we always advise to use the one from the vendor. These are always the most accurate and up-to-date. NetworkOptix already made it simple with just a couple of steps. One of the steps, and I think is one of the most important, is the amount of cameras you're going to use. The resolution, the frames per second, the codec, you're going to use H.264 or H.265, and the days you want to record. This input brings you to the required net storage. The net storage has to be translated or calculated into the gross storage. And based upon the required rate level, the capacity and number of disks for the server can be calculated. The next step, by planning your hardware design, is again the operating system. We discussed it earlier, and the server runs under Linux and Microsoft as well. And based upon the operating system, we can configure the server because each operating system has got their own hardware requirements. For example, Linux already runs with 4 gig of memory, but if you take Microsoft Windows Server, you need a minimum of 16 gig. What are the unique capabilities of the NX Witness video management? The NX Witness has a server hive architecture, which lends itself to more lightweight hardware, limited by storage with endless redundancy. You could consider, for example, to use 2 servers at a minimum because of the free failover. NX makes the total cost of ownership lower because of a lower hardware. and built-in failover, there will be no expensive redundant hardware needed. But also I would like to discuss the common mistakes. When starting the conversation with our customer about their needs, always ask them about their needs today, but also in the future. Can you estimate what your needs are going to be in 2 or 3 years' time? Is there a certain chance that the retention time will increase or the resolution, or the amount of cameras? Always be prepared that the need of the future is higher than the requirements for your customer of today. But also build in the redundancy. Discuss about power. Do you want a single power supply or a dual power supply? And we already discussed the data. Do you want RAID, yes or no? But I think also we have to discuss the VPN, because a safe connection is very important if you would like to support your customer with a remote system. We can help you with our Smart Cloud Connect, which is a pre-configured VPN solution. And then maybe a common one, always change the passwords to protect your customers' data and network. Another mistake is making a presentation too long. Is everyone still awake? Section 5, trending innovations. Here are a few. Smarter IP cameras. Now, AI analytics the increasing need of AI implementation and more innovations will be launched every year. This means always more storage, but also a more powerful system to calculate the AI. And another thing regarding IP cameras and storage is, of course, the micro SD cards you can put into the camera. But also the reduced GPU needs for surveillance server, increased client workstations hardware requirement. But there we will also come with more powerful IP cameras, like an 8K resolution camera, improved analytics, facial recognitions, and more storage means a higher throughput and more decoding. What we also see is the multi-sensor IP cameras. A couple of years ago, we saw the first one, but now it's more regular that we sell the 360 and the 180 video capturing camera. But what we also see is less PTZ cameras because of the 180 and 360 degrees cameras. And it means also less maintenance. But more storage means a higher throughput and a more decoding. Video surveillance as a service. The storage of camera security imaging to the cloud is on the rise. In collaboration with Network Optix, we have developed a cloud platform. And we can help you to store the images from your camera 24/7 in the cloud in any resolution or just as a backup. The VSaaS provides a much better TCO, so you can focus more on the crucial applications needed to protect safety and improve process, especially now with this pandemic. We call the Smart Cloud Security, which is our own brand for the NX Cloud. For more information, please take a visit at our website. Another innovative solution of WSM technology is called the Smart Cloud Monitor. We enable you to monitor server, clients, manage switches, routers, IP cameras 24/7 with our Smart Cloud Monitor software. This includes network bandwidth, packet loss, interface errors, HDD and SSD performance, RAID controllers, RAID sets, and all can be managed in just one portal. What Smart Cloud Monitor is offering is a 24/7 monitoring of your hardware and software with associated predictive maintenance. It's crucial to avoid having to deal with malfunction cameras or defective ports on your router or switch afterwards. Smart Cloud Monitor software is the ultimate solution for installers who want to optimize service and support for their customers. And predictive maintenance is the keyword for optimal use and reliability of the function of your security system. When an end user has invested or is going to invest in an IP camera surveillance system, the TCO, the total cost of ownership, is really important. We are hopefully aware that when you choose for NX, the updates of the software comes for free. Again, a huge advantage in comparison to other video management software platforms. This contributes to an enormous reduction in your maintenance costs. But the hardware, like your server or multiple server, client, IP camera, switches, do need maintenance. And to ensure that the entire installation continues to deliver the performance you expect from it, we advise you to take a look at the Smart Cloud Monitor. Please also take in mind that frequently the operating system of the server needs to be updated, but also the firmware of routers and switches need to be checked. As a company, we are able to support you based upon a remote management contract for servers, clients, switches, and routers. James, now we come to the Q&A session.
Yep.
I've chosen for a, I hope not too long presentation, and I hope it's really informative for the people who are watching and listening.
Great, thanks for doing the presentation. Obviously I saw it this morning as well. It's a really good overview of hardware and kind of like giving you a good understanding of how those components affect systems, and obviously a lot relating to the NX system. As John pointed out a few times, the NX system is quite unique compared to other systems out there. So it makes quite a big difference when doing a solution design using NX versus one of the competitive programs, just purely because of our architecture and the infrastructure side. But yeah, as John said, we're open to a Q&A or a general forum. So if anyone's got any comments to make, any questions, feel free to use the Q&A box or the chat system. A couple of questions we had earlier that I'll bring up just for people's reference. So one of the questions we had was where to use Linux or Windows. Obviously, John, as he said, likes to use Linux on the servers. But we had a good chat about like when using Linux versus using Windows. So I don't know if you want to just cover that same question so that people in this talk can kind of have an overview.
Yeah, James, what we discussed, as you said earlier this morning, when it comes to the server, we recommend to use the Linux version because of the fact that it's more cheaper, it's more reliable, and it's more stable. And I just spoke about the total cost of ownership, and also in your, let's say, support afterwards, and after 2 or 3 years, it's still smoothly running. If you take in comparison that a Windows server needs a much more higher hardware platform, and is also to maintain much more cost expensive. But when it comes to the client, I've got another feeling, and that's because of the fact that Linux isn't that well developed regarding graphic performance, although they are making steps. So when it comes to the video management client, we always advise to run it under the Windows environment. And let's be honest, you can already start with the Windows 10 Professional, and then your graphic performance in combination with the hardware acceleration is really great.
For sure, that makes sense. Yeah, cool. Like I said, that's kind of similar to what we say. You know, if customers are going to be interacting with the machines and they don't know Linux that well, it's just it saves you a lot for if you do use Windows, just because the support side of Linux, if the customer's using the box a lot and doesn't know how to use Ubuntu, for instance, it will cause more problems than.
Yeah, but James, at the other side, we also must be aware of the fact that maybe a complete environment of the customer is already a Windows environment. And then you can also consider, okay, maybe it's much more easier when I've already got, for example, 40 or 60 Windows servers running. Maybe it's much more easier to say, okay, I'm going to do a Windows server for Network Optix also. Yeah. But again, it's a main advantage. So if you compare it to the other video management software like Genetec or Milestone, for example, you can't choose. And in this case, you've got the choice, and the choice and the alternative you've got with Linux is much more better and much more stable.
For sure, yeah, I like to use Linux for that other stuff. Cool. We have a question come in as well from one of the attendees. He said, "Hi, John. You told us that the TCO of VSAS is lower than the normal system. Why is the TCO lower, and do we get support like the monitoring system?"
Yeah, why is the TCO lower? Now, that's because of the fact that you don't have to invest in your server yourself. That's I think an easy way to calculate. You only when it comes to our platform, which is a network Optix platform, let's be honest, you only have to buy our switch. Your switch will be connected to any camera you prefer. We automatically build up a VPN solution, so it's always a secure connection between our server and the customer side. Yeah, and we take care of the complete server, and we take care of the complete storage of the complete environment. So you don't have to do any investments. But you're going to pay per camera per month instead of setting up a complete system.
So what kind of support comes with that as well? So he was asking about monitoring the systems. I assume like health monitoring, I assume as well.
Yeah, the Smart Cloud Monitor. We see it as two different products. We've got Smart Cloud Monitor and we've got Smart Cloud Security. Smart Cloud Monitor is the software for supporting, or Smart Cloud Monitor is for the software for monitoring any device which has got an SNMP protocol.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means that we can monitor a camera, a managed switch, a managed router. We can monitor the server, but we can monitor the server components. For example, the hard drives, we can monitor the CPU performance. So much things we can monitor. And that means that we can monitor, let's say, from A to Z, because of the fact that we are able to monitor any device within the environment. Mm-hmm. This is specific software which is not combined with our own servers. It's software you can also use or buy from us if you've got your own environment, if you've got your own servers. But we do think that the next step will be how can we reduce the costs for support. And when you've got already the knowledge what is going to be defect, your total cost of ownership will be lower, and it will give you the opportunity to be proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah, it makes sense. So when it comes to VSAS solutions, obviously you said you install the switch, which I guess is VPN to your data center. Yeah. That pretty one in the back there that you've got. What's your opinion when it comes to VSAS solutions? Like, obviously, from an NX point of view, we do a lot of hybrid solutions where we still have a server or a device on site, purely because not everywhere in the world has network infrastructure. So how do you see that working in terms of the downsides of what's your limit on how many cameras you would put on a pure VSAS solution versus like actually going hybrid or potentially like completely local? How would you calculate that? Because obviously once you get to a few hundred cameras, VSAS coming.
Yeah, James, it's always based on the bandwidth which the customer has got. If we take for the Netherlands, for example, there are a lot of, let's say, there's a lot of bandwidth. So we've got already sites where we're running 30, 35 cameras smoothly as a complete VSAS solutions. But when it comes to, let's say, more than 60, the bandwidth is going to be the biggest issue. Mm. What we see is that, especially in the smaller environments, let's say 4 to 12 cameras, VSAS can run without any problem for complete 100% in our data center. But when it comes to, let's say, the more higher systems, we always advise to do it hybrid, as you already mentioned. But I think it's going to be, let's say, the next step in our business.
That makes sense. So we have another question that's come in from an attendee. Is it possible to connect the remote VPN with servers that are already in use, or only on new video management?
No, we can do it on existing environments also.
Yeah, so yeah, it's
if
VPN.
If you want more details about the VPN and the VPN solution, please contact me, of course.
Yeah, so VPNs in general can be installed on most systems. What protocol do you use, John, for your VPNs?
If I'm honest, we're using several, but our technicians have developed a special one. We are choosing this. We are using OpenVPN as our major VPN solution, because the fact that it's reliable and stable. But at this moment, we're also looking to another one which is coming up, which is more cost effective. So it's depending on the situation how we configure it for the customer. The customer, what the customer wants is really important for us. First of all, we need to know what are the wishes so that we can provide them with the correct solution. Yeah.
So for everyone that just wants more information, so VPN is a virtual private network. So it basically allows you to connect multiple devices over a WAN to appear as if they're on the same local network that's all encrypted effectively. It's been around for a long time. There's old protocols like PPTP, which aren't supported. Well, they're supported, but they're insecure. They've actually been brute force attacked, or not brute, but they've been attacked now, so they don't work. And then so OpenVPNs are pretty good standard most people use, and they can work with any system. So instead of port forwarding, or if you're not using the cloud connect for NX, it's quite simple to set up on an NX witness server a VPN server, and then you can client into it multiple different ways. So yeah, just if anyone wants more details on VPN, obviously John said he's his system and he can explain the way he does it. But also, yeah, just feel free to contact NX as well, as it's quite a commonly used thing for access, to get access to local systems. I used to live in China, so we used to use a VPN all the time. Cool. We had one question earlier as well, kind of relating to your WSM software, which looks pretty cool, like your cloud monitoring system. With regards to, can it work with any server? So if someone already has their hardware infrastructure in place and just really likes to look at your software, are you able to are they able to purchase that from you and install it on their own pre-existing infrastructure, like cameras, switches, servers, etc.?
Yeah, we believe in the fact, I think it's based on the same philosophy of network optics, that you have to be open. So that means that it's not only related to our own hardware. You can use and buy the software for the servers you are maybe buying from another one, or maybe a complete hardware set you've already bought. So it's based on the fact that we can install it, let's say, on every environment. Of course, we like to prefer to sell it in combination with our own hardware, but nevertheless, we've said, okay, when there's already an existing environment, we can install it. When you make a decision about, for example, you would like to have a special Lenovo server, which we don't support traditionally, we can also install the monitoring software on that kind of systems. So the monitoring software, is it web-based or is it client-based? It's web-based, yeah. So it comes into NX quite nicely. Yeah, and you need to, depending on the hardware, but you need to install small clients, and yeah, which is really tremendous. And I think it's going to be, yeah, one of the things I do believe in. One of the things, there are a lot of things I do believe in at this moment. That's video management software in general. I think everybody's fed up with the NVR, Everybody wants more than just a network video recorder. They want the network video management software like NX. And we came in contact with NX about 3 or 4 years ago, and yeah, we were astonished about really the performance of the software. And I have to be honest, we also built for customers like who are having a Milestone or a Genetec server. But if you take into comparison that, yeah, it's almost half of your investment if you choose for network optics. Yeah, then for me it's a no-brainer. And then you look into the stability of the software, you look into the stability of the hardware. Yeah. So video management in general, I do believe that it's going to be growing rapidly. Yeah. Then VSaaS is something I do believe in, but also the remote monitoring of your complete system is going to be a tremendous business. Because of the fact that you want proactive, you want to know what's happening. Because when I drive a car, I will get all the information I would like about my car. But what about if a camera is working, yes or no? And of course, Network Optics has got already a lot of things into their software, which are really tremendous. But we made a step further by developing software not only for the software, the Network Optics software in combination with the cameras, but also checking out the switch and checking out the router. But we also can, when somebody's got an ecosystem running with an SNMP protocol, we are able to monitor that also. So it goes much more further than only the video management environment, but we have said, okay, we're going to focus on the video management environment because that's our business.
Cool. Yeah, makes sense. So we just had a question come in about RAID. You mentioned obviously RAID 5 in your presentation. Yeah. What's the RAID that you recommend, and why? Now,
first of all, we're going to start with the operating system. Of course, it's depending on budget, and that's something we always discuss with our customer. But what we do is, first of all, we advise to you to run the operating system on an SSD. And when there's enough budget, please put in the second SSD, and that's something we configure in RAID 1, which is a complete mirror. So that means that quite easily, one of the SSD will break down, the other one takes it over, and your system runs smoothly without any problem. When it comes to the storage of your data, then it depends on the volume size you've got. For example, if it's just only a one hard drive environment, we always advise to put in a second drive into the system, because it's just a minimum investment, and put that under the RAID 1, which is the same, the mirror solution. So, for example, if you put in an 8 terabyte hard disk, put in the second one and also configure it in RAID 1. That means that when the first RAID 1 drive breaks or has got problems, your data will be always on the other one. But when it comes to, let's say, more bigger environments, for example, and that's the number, the storage is not easy to pin out. But for example, if you above the 20 terabyte, we always recommend, first of all, to look at RAID 5, and then the next step of RAID 5 with a hot spare solution. So that means that one disk can break down, but there's always a second one running in the system, and which can take it over. The next step could be RAID 6, and then you've got 2 drives in your system that can break down without any problems. And another advantage of RAID is RAID 5 and higher, is that you can swap, hot swap your drive. And the ultimate, of course, is the RAID 6 with hot spare. Now, there are in total 50 RAID configurations. Now, I'm not going to tell them all. Of course, I would like, but if you're really interested to hear them all, please contact me. But these are, let's say, the main systems. RAID 5 RAID 5 with hot spare, RAID 6 with hot spare. And another one, which is quite really important, really normal, that's the RAID 10. And that's more than when you've got a, if you want to have it really quick, that means that if you do your live view directly, then we also recommend to put in a RAID 10 set into the server. I hope this answers the question.
Yeah. So so for RAID 6 plus hot spare, then that's 3 hard drives taken out of action. Yeah. So it's worth it if you've got like an 18 bay unit, but if you're running on like an 8 or a 12 bay, then RAID 5 makes more sense.
Yeah.
Correct.
Cool.
So how many hard drives does RAID 10 use?
A minimum of 4.
Okay.
But it's always depending on the budget and also what kind of data integrity you would like to realize.
Yeah.
A smaller company says, okay, 2 drives, RAID 1 is okay for me. But when you've got more, let's say, the banking environment, they prefer or not prefer, they ask especially for a RAID 6 with the hot spare solutions.
So when you RAID your entire hard drives, this kind of array, does it slow down your writing speeds? Because obviously in NX we write sequentially, so we can write simultaneously. So we can write simultaneously to every drive at the same time.
Yeah.
And we have if you got a 12 bay unit, we have the speed of 12 hard drives of storage. When you RAID that, what's the speed impact on
it? It will slow down a little bit, but if you decide to use a good RAID controller with a separate processor, then there will be no performance issues. But another thing which is I think important to mention is it's the IOPS. And then within the RAID environment, we always say, okay, when there is budget, please make the decision to use the SAS drives instead of SATA drives, because the IOPS are higher, especially within the enterprise SAS drives. You get a higher IOPS.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I used to work with hardware a lot a while ago, and like bad RAID cards just create too many I/O and speed errors when trying to write to the storage. Just slow down. But no, it's good. All right, if anyone has any other questions, we've had a few come through. So if anyone wants to ask anything else, anything to do with hardware, anything to do with NX, anything to do with WSM, feel free to ask us while you have us. You can ask anonymously if you don't want your name to be seen. And if not, then feel free to also email John, whose email's up on the screen, or email myself or whoever your NX sales contact will be. Or if you don't have one, you can email me. It's jcox@networkoptix.com, which I'll chuck into the chat real quick, just for anyone to use. Or you can also email us at support@networkoptix.com, and it will go, or not support, sorry, info, or to that sales at, and it will come through to us, and we can put you in the right spot. Oscar, I'm not sure if you're still there.
I'm here. I'm listening to everything. Has been very informative. Thanks, John, a lot for this great webinar. I learned a lot personally. I'm not the most technical person, but it's a very good overview on the things to look at on the storage. I think we covered everything. The videos will be made available online on YouTube later on if you guys want to revise anything on it. I think that will be the webinar, James.
Yeah, so thanks everyone for coming. This is, as I said, the second day of our NX Security Week. Tomorrow we have Seagate doing a talk about storage solutions specifically. So they'll be talking about the difference between standard data hard drives, enterprise drives, or storage drive, surveillance drives. And they'll kind of be talking about the different storage strategies out there in terms of if you want to centralize storage, distributed storage, and how all that's kind of impacted. And they'll touch on the vSaaS solution as well, a little bit from the storage side. So they should be doing good informative thing on that, so we can actually learn about how these hard drives are actually writing and what's involved. And then on Thursday, we have a doctor of computer science who is going to be doing a introduction to AI for us. And it's going to be to the point where we're going to get a full understanding of AI, not just the, it's analytics, but they're going to run us through, you know, what an inference engine is, how they actually work, what deep learning is, how the business logic's applied, and really give us a good look at AI as it is right now, where it came from, what's actually doable right now, and not it's just kind of like a smoke screen that people say is doable. It's not really doable, and kind of where the trends for AI are going, which is a hot topic at the moment. Is always talking about AI, but it's kind of a bit of a mystery to a lot of people. So I think that should be a really good one. And then on Friday, honestly, the best webinar, obviously, will be hosted by me. I'll be bringing all of these webinars together. So from the camera one yesterday from Vivatech, from the one today from John with the hardware, the Seagate one, AI one, and then we'll create one on how you bring all this knowledge together and create a full solution, and kind of architecture based on customer requirements to actually deliver on expectation, making sure it's future proof. So that should be a good one as well, and that'll be with me and some of the other guys from Network Optix. I'm sure Oscar will probably be joining me for that one as well. So thanks again, everyone, for joining. As I said, these webinars will be available online probably next week. So if you found them informative, if you've got new staff starting, if you need someone to be trained, feel free to use all this. The camera one yesterday was great for an overview of cameras. This is great for understanding the hardware side. Really good kind of resources for people in the industry. So thanks again, John, and everyone at WSM for joining us and doing these talks for us. And John, I'll hand it back to you to finish the statement. Anything you'd like to add?
Okay, now, I would like to thank everybody for taking the time to join us here, of course. Jane, thank you very much for hosting this this opportunity. And if you've got more information, please feel free to contact me. You've got my contact details on the screen. So thank you very much, and I hope to see or hear you soon.
Cool. On that note, we don't have any more questions coming in, so I will end the webinar. And thank you again for everyone for joining. And I hope to see you on the next couple of webinars this week. All right.
Right, bye, guys.
Goodbye. Thank you.